Hello and welcome to a Millionaire Money math movie. In these, you get to play the psychiatrist and you get to solve all of math's problems. If you're watching this, it's most likely your very first lesson in 6th grade. So congratulations to making 6th grade, and hopefully throughout this year we can further your math understanding and make it fun for you along the way. How this is going to work is through these videos you'll be learning the lessons and they go along with your book. I pull out examples and words from the book that you should know, talk about them briefly, give you opportunity to solve some problems. And so you will want your math book, you'll want your notebook, something to write with, and probably some headphones so those in the room don't have to listen to me talk like you do. So with that, let's get started on the very first lesson. It's lesson 1.1. It's entitled Evaluating Algebraic Expressions, and it starts on page 4 in your book. Page 4 in your book. So the beauty of doing it this way is that if I'm talking too fast or you don't understand something, you can always pause it. You can always rewind it, go back and watch it again, but I encourage you to take your time, make sure you understand it, so that way you can do well on your homework assignments and you can do well on your test. So turn to page 4 and let's get going. Alright, on the top of page 4 you're going to see the word numerical expression. It's going to be highlighted in yellow and it is going to be in bold. These are words that you should probably write down in your notebook. You should write down the definition so you can refer to them later on as you do your homework or as you study for some tests. It's nice to have them handy in one central location so that way you don't have to go look in your book to find it. So I write down the term numerical expression, and a numerical expression contains only numbers and operations. So you're only going to see numbers and operation signs like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You will not see any equal signs. Okay? If you see it's an equal sign, it's not an expression. So here's some examples of a numerical expression. You can see in your book they give you the example 15 plus 9 times 3. This is a numerical expression. How do you know? Because all we have is numbers. 15, 9, and 3. And all we have are operations here. The addition sign and the multiplication sign. So this is a numerical expression. There's no equal sign either. Here's another numerical expression. It could be 6 minus 4 times 2 plus, any number, 10. Is this a numerical expression? Well, sure it is. All you see are numbers, right here, and operation signs, minus, multiplication, and addition. So this is a numerical expression. You tell me if this is a numerical expression. You should have answered, hopefully, you answered no. And the reason why this isn't a numerical expression is because of this right here, the equal sign. We'll get into that later, but just know that if it has an equal sign, it is not an expression. Okay? It has to be without the equal sign. The next term that we need to talk about is the term algebraic expression. And an algebraic expression differs from a numeric expression because an algebraic expression can contain numbers, operations, and variables. So you might see something like this. 45, it's in your book, divided by P minus Q. There's no equal sign, so it's an expression. And we have variables. Our variables are P and Q. So it's not numerical because P and Q aren't numbers. and 45. So 45 divided by P minus Q, no equal sign, is an algebraic expression. Here's another algebraic expression. We could say x minus 10 plus 2 divided by y. That's an algebraic expression because you have a variable, two variables, x and y, no equal sign, so this is an algebraic expression. Once again, just to reiterate, that's going to be different than a numerical expression. That's just going to be numbers. Something like that. The last word that you should probably write down in your notebook is the word evaluate. And the word evaluate is another word for solve. When your homework is going to ask you to evaluate, you're going to solve the expression by substituting in a number for a letter. I'll show you what I mean on the next slide. Here's example number 1, letter A. This is still on page 4 in your book. The directions tell you to evaluate k plus 10 when k is equal to 25. So here is our, do you know what this is? Is this a numerical or is this an algebraic expression? This is algebraic because we have a variable, we have a letter. Our directions tell us to evaluate this, k plus 10, when k equals 25. So to evaluate, we're going to substitute 25 wherever we see a k. You need to rewrite this expression doing the same thing, but wherever you see a k, you put 25. When I do that, I have 25 plus 10, and 25 plus 10 is 35. That's as simple as that. Example number B is the same issue. It wants you to evaluate 4 times n, and then it tells you that n equals 12. So wherever you see an n, you're going to substitute that n, and in its place, you're going to put the 12. So you're looking at 4 times 12. 4 times 12 is 48. So this algebraic expression is 48 when n equals 12. Here's where you get to try, and you're going to try number 1 on your own. It says evaluate 24 plus c when c equals 9. And then number 2 says evaluate d minus 17 when d equals 30. So what I want you to do on these on your own is what I tend to do is say pause the video. This is where your paper comes in. You're going to pause the video, write this down, you're going to solve it. And it's okay if you mess up or get it wrong because no one's watching you and you're not being graded on this. Pause the video, work out the problem, and when you're finished, unpause it. I'm going to work through this with you and we're going to see if we got the right answer, okay? So now's your time, pause the video, work out these 2 problems, and when you're finished, unpause it and we'll see if you got the right answers. Alright, so now that you've unpaused it, let's tackle number 1 first. You have 24 plus c, and they told us that c equals 9. So if you did this correctly, you would have remembered to substitute wherever you see a c, you're going to put a 9 in its place. So 24 plus 9, and your answer should be 33 for on your own number 1. Number 2, you have d minus 17, and d equals 30. So you substitute 30 for d, 30 minus 17. 30 minus 17 is 13. So if you got 33 and 13, you did it correct. If not, that's alright. We'll keep working on it and we'll make sure we get it. Alright, 6th graders, we're going to take it up a notch with example number 2 at the bottom of page 4. This is evaluating an expression that has two variables in it. So don't get freaked out. It's the same thing, you're just going to have two variables. In the example, they say evaluate A divided by B when A is equal to 27 and B is equal to 3. All you have to do is follow the same steps that we did in example number 1. For A, you substitute 27. For B, you substitute 3. And you're left with 27 divided by 3. Your basic division facts should get you to the answer that 27 divided by 3 is 9. And so your answer for this problem is 9. So you're going to tackle ones with more than one variable the same way you would if they just had one variable. So let's bottom of the page, the on your own, and look at the instructions. Evaluate the expression when P equals 24 and Q equals 8. So in all of these on your owns, 3, 4, 5, and 6, P is always going to be 24 and Q is always going to be 8. So let's do number 3. Number 3 is P divided by Q. And remember, P is always 24. And Q is always going to be 8. Now what I want you to do here is to pause the video, work this out, and see, and then when you're finished, unpause it and see if you get the right answer. Okay? You should have substituted 24 for P. So you put 24 in P's place. And in Q's place, you put what number? Hopefully you put 8. And you're left with 24 divided by 8. Well, 24, what number times 8 will give you 24? What's 24 divided by 8? And you should get 3. Okay, let's try number 4. Number 4 is Q plus P, and that's it. But still remember, up in the instructions, it says P equals 24 and Q equals 8. Pause the video, unpause it when you think you got the right answer. Alright, to do this one, we're going to, instead of Q, we're going to replace it. And Q is equal to 8. It tells us over here, so we're going to do 8. And P is equal to 24, so we will replace P with 24. And we get 8 plus 24. And 8 plus 24 is 32. So hopefully you got that one correct. Let's do one more together as an example. We'll do number 5 here. Is P minus Q. And again, pause the video. Work it out on your own paper, and when you're done, unpause it and we'll see how we did. Okay. P is 24, so we want to do that. And Q is 8, and so we're going to put 8 there. And 24 minus 8 is 16. So that's our answer. You do need to make sure, though, that you are putting the right numbers in for the right variable. Notice that the P goes first, so 24 needs to go first here. And the Q was second, So the 8, because q equals 8, the 8 needs to go second. If you were to mix that up, you're not going to get the same answer in this instance. You would get 8 minus 24, which is going to give you a negative answer, and you'll be scratching your head thinking about what you did wrong. Right? So just double check yourself and make sure that you're putting the right number for the right variable. Alright, one last example. This is example number 3. This is on page 5 now. And we're doing the same thing, except we're going to be adding an operation. So up until this point, we've just been doing addition or just subtraction or just multiplication. But we're going to add another operation. So doing 2, maybe an addition or subtraction, or a multiplication and subtraction. Doing both of those. So let's jump in, and there's no better way than to just jump in and do it. So here's the example, and it says 3x minus 14, and then it tells us that x is equal to 5. So I'm going to solve this by substituting in 5 wherever I see an x, just like I've done before, and solving the expression. So since x equals 5, I'm going to replace x with 5, and I'm going to write everything else just as it was. In case you didn't know, or if you're not used to seeing this, when you see a variable right by a number, that means that it's going to be multiplied. So you read this 3 times x minus 14. So the reason why when you put in a number, when you substitute for the variable, you put it in parentheses, is just so that way you and I know that we're multiplying. So you can read this the same way. 3 times 5 minus 14. You could also write it, if you wanted to, like this. Oop, let me get it. There it is. 3 times 5 minus 14. And you could also write it like you most commonly see it up to here. 3 times 5 minus 14. The problem with this way, though, I'm going to tell you right now, is that as you move on in this year and in 7th and 8th grade and beyond that even, this method right here of writing your multiplication, 3 with an x and then a 5, it goes away. You're going to have to get used to seeing it like this, or like this, or like this, because this gets confusing when we start using variables like you're already doing in your very first lesson. So if you're not used to this way, that's okay, but start working towards recognizing that and seeing that. The reason why you put it in parentheses, because what would it look like if I didn't put it in parentheses? It would look like this, wouldn't it? And 35 minus 14 is going to give me a lot different answer than if I do 3 times 5 minus 14, isn't it? Alright, well, I digress, so let's get back on track here. We were really working with this right here, 3 times 5 minus 14. And when you have two operations, you might remember this, you have to use your order of operations, and your order of operations are, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. PEMDAS, right? P is parentheses, E is exponents, M is multiplication, D is division, A is addition, S is subtraction. This might be new to you, it might be old, you might be still have summer brain and not understand what is going on yet. That's okay, that's why you can rewind it. But we have to use PEMDAS because we have two operations. We have multiplication and we have subtraction. Looking at this, what should we do first? Do we have any parentheses? Well, we do, but there's nothing else in there. Do we have any exponents? Nope. Any multiplication? We sure do, so that's got to come first. 3 times 5. Rewrite that as 15, and then write what's left. So we did 3 times 5, and we didn't use this minus sign or the 14. So we're going to write the rest of that. And now I know what to do with that pretty easily. 15 minus 14 is 1. I just threw a lot at you. I realize that. So let's try to do another one together. Alright, here's example letter B under example 3. And this is z squared plus 8.5 when z is equal to 2. Let's follow the same steps that we have been following. Instead of z, let's write a 2 in there. Don't forget your exponent. And we're going to add 8.5 and just keep everything else the same. This right here is an exponent, which means this is going to be 2 squared, or 2 times 2. So what is 2 times 2? 2 times 2 is 4. And then you have to add 8.5. 4 plus 8.5 is 12.5. And I did that really fast, and I apologize. Let's go back up here really fast. I knew I had to do the square first because of PEMDAS. Whenever you have two operations like you do here, here's exponents, here's addition, you always have to think of PEMDAS. Do I have any parentheses? No. Do I have any exponents? Yes, I do. So exponents comes first. I did the exponents. And then I only have one operation, so that's why I just added. If you couldn't do this in your head, when you're adding, there's a lot of things we've got to get off of summer brain now. When you're adding decimals, remember you have to line up your decimals. So you have to do 8.5 and you're adding 4. You needed to put the 4 here and do it like that. If you lined it up, excuse me, like this, you're going to get the wrong answer. So make sure, if you got the wrong answer on this, it's probably because your decimals weren't lined up. Let's give you one or two to practice on your own, and then we'll be done. At the bottom is 5y plus 1, and y is equal to 6. And then number, which one? Let's do number, let's just stick with this one for now. Pause the video here, and then unpause it when you think you got the right answer. Alright, to solve this, you should have substituted in the 6 for y and rewritten everything, so 5. And remember, if you just put the 6 here, that's not a 56. This is 5 times y. I would write it with the parentheses there, just so you don't forget. So we have 5 times 6. Oh, what do we do first? Let me do this first. What are you going to do first? Because you have multiplication and you have addition, don't you? Here's the multiplication when two numbers are right next to each other, separated by parentheses, and then you have addition. What are you going to do first? Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Your answer should be you will multiply first. So 6 times 5 is 30. And what you didn't use was the plus 1. So 30 plus 1 is 31. Okay, this is the very last one, I promise. This is number 8, and I want to do it because it's a little bit tricky. 30 minus 24 divided by y, and remember, y equals 6. So pause the video, work this one out on your piece of paper, and unpause it when you think you have the answer. Alright, let's see how you did. Step number 1, substitute your variables with the number that you know. In this case, we know that y is going to become 6. Now this reads 30 minus 24 divided by 6. And now you have two operations. You have subtraction and you have division. So you have to ask yourself, which one do I do first? This is where handy dandy PEMDAS comes into play. Do you have any parentheses? No. Any exponents? No. Any multiplication or division? You sure do. It's right here. So the first thing you need to do is 24 divided by 6. 24 divided by 6 is 4. And rewrite everything you did not use, which in this case is the 30 and the minus sign. Bring it on down. 30 minus 4 is 26. That's your right answer. If you didn't get 26, my guess is that you probably did 30 minus 24, got 6, and then 6 divided by 6, and you got 1. That's incorrect. You have to do the order of operations, all right? If you're not sure with it, ask and we'll get it straightened out for you. Well, that brings us to the end. That's all we have for today. Long. Not everyone will be this long, I promise you. We just had a lot to go over and talk about today. But not everything will be this long, but that will conclude our very first lesson in 6th grade. And after every video, I will try to end it with some silly, corny joke that only I find funny and everybody else just rolls their eyes. Okay? So with that being said, I'll end it with today's joke. Why did the cookie go to the hospital? It's because he felt crummy. I hope you guys had a good first day, or a good first lesson. Remember, as always, you're special and that God loves you. We'll see you next time.